Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vintage versus Modern debate. Today, we'll be hosting the banking debate. For the banking, we have the vintage, our favorite bank teller, versus the IMPS. To represent these, we have Toastmaster Krishnan, who will be representing IMPS, and Toastmaster Yash, who will be representing our favorite bank teller. So, to let's jump on to the debate. So, I will request Toastmaster Yash to pose his first question to Toastmaster Krishnan.
Sure. So my first question to Toastmaster Krishnan is that Toastmaster Krishnan mentioned that nowadays, in his opening statement, that nowadays internet services and internet penetration in general is increasing, and that is the reason probably all bank tellers should be replaced. So my question to Toastmaster Krishnan is, even today, as of date, even after almost uh, 4 to 5 years of 4G penetration in India, still at this point of time, there are at least 55 crore people in India who do not have access to smartphone or internet. So, do you really want to leave them unbanked? And if we choose to do that, then how will our banking services be universal if we replace tellers?
Over to you, Toastmaster Krishnan.
Yes. Yeah. So the first thing you said is about sellers, about internet penetration. So internet penetration is actually growing rapidly, even in rural areas across the country. And there are also constraints, even when even if there is an IMPS, or even if there is even the traditional teller services, there are even constraints with the teller services even in rural areas as well. So the teller system has also dramatically reduced as well in the teller in those areas. And there has also been difficulties with infrastructure put in place, especially in setting up banks in rural areas, as well as not a lot of people, not a lot of skilled professionals are available in those rural areas to add teller systems over there. As a result, and on top of that, there has been an unprecedented increase in phone penetration, though, even in rural areas. Though it is still less, though it is about 500 million Indians do have access to mobile phones. It is still growing, though, so it will pick up. And because of that, that is why if we want to include them, we cannot waste, I would say we cannot waste time in including tellers, but actually involve, and we want to include them in the digital banking system, then we have to rapidly use these immediate payment services to include them in the financial system.
Thank you, Toastmaster Krishnan. Now I request Toastmaster Krishnan to pose his first question to Toastmaster Yash.
Yes, so my first question is, because you had mentioned about how, yes, about how the system will lead to a lot of fraud. In one of your in one of your addresses, you had mentioned that the digital banking system would lead to a lot of fraud, and the fraud has increased. Well, what I will say is fraud has always been there, time immemorial, right from the dawn of time. Fraud is inevitable, and even in the teller system as well, tellers have joined hands with bank offices, and they've passed on checks like which of signatures which have not even matched the specimen signature, and as a result, there have also been cases of cheating and currency issued. As a result, my question is, since there is fraud, though there is fraud in issues with the digital banking system, like the immediate payment services. There have also been frauds. There's been extortion even in the bank telling system. As a result, shouldn't the effect of the behavior of fraud rather be uh, um, criminalized, and shouldn't the issue be about awareness of bank fraud and transactional fraud? That's my question. Instead of promoting a system which actually is able to accommodate the unprecedented increase in the number of transactions that have been accommodated by the IMPS system.
All right, so my answer will actually have two parts. First is, as you also accepted, that even the IMPS system does face a lot of instances of fraud. So, for sure, IMPS is not a better system than the conventional banking system. So, what reason do I have to adopt the IMPS system? Number one, as far as the fraud perspective is concerned, there is clearly no reason to adopt the IMPS system for that. And number two is that the IMPS system is also prone to a lot of human errors. Even if while entering the bank account number of the beneficiary, even if a single digit is missed out, the money can be transferred to a completely different account, and that would be an irreversible transaction. At least the bank teller system, whenever you visit a bank branch and you ask a bank employee to conduct a transaction for you, that human error element is not there, because the bank takes the responsibility for that, and the bank, if there is a transaction error on the part of the bank will promptly reverse it because the onus is on the bank. Whereas on the mobile phone, if you are conducting a transaction that has a human error, the onus is on you. So that's there. So I would say that with IMPS, first of all, the fraud possibility is still there. That is not eliminated, which you also accepted. And to add to that, another disadvantage which gets added is that the human error, the onus of the human error comes on the customer rather than on the bank.
So I would request Toastmaster Yash to pose his second question to Toastmaster Krishnan.
Yeah, so Toastmaster Krishnan has two more points in his opening statement. That is, he mentions having the system of having to book appointments to conduct transactions at the branch. So I would like to first of all know what is the basis of stating this fact, because I think this is a completely baseless claim. No bank ever has had any appointment system. You just walk into the branch and conduct the transaction. So I would like to know the source over there. And the second part of my question is that Toastmaster Krishnan was mentioning COVID as an example where IMPS could help us with contactless transactions. But my question here is, don't we already have other alternatives to conduct contactless transactions? For example, phone banking. Phone banking will be contactless. It will the transaction will be much more secure because then I'm IMPS, because again on phone banking the teller will help you out with the phone banking aspect, the verification, the human error aspect gets eliminated because of double verification, which is not there in IMPS. So what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so the thing is, when I was mentioning about appointments could also mean when you're in the bank, you still have to wait. You still have to wait for your to go and you have to wait at the counter. You get a counter number or a teller number, and then you have to wait to get your transaction done. That is what I meant by appointments. And that also depends on the time. It also depends on the month when you go, and you also it's also dependent on the crowd in the banks. Who knows that when you're going there, if you're waiting for suppose if you have if you have to pay a medical bill, an exhaustive medical bill, are you going to go to the bank and even in your, maybe your credit cards cannot take that limit, so are you going to go and wait for an appointment, to wait at the bank for appointments to get your money, to get the money, or are you going to, or would you rather instantly pay it to save probably your kin's life? And also another thing, since you had raised the issue about phone banking also has not fully developed to normal. It's still developing, and it's still got a long way to go in that way. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Toastmaster Krishnan. Now I request you to pose your second question and the last question of this section.
You had Toastmaster Yash had spoken about relationships and about relationships to people. So and the thing with having more personal relationships is how many banks literally have relationship members with or rather I would say have the amount of bank managers cannot take up so many relationship manage or a lot of relationship managers cannot take so many banks, considering the number of transactions that have been carried out or the unprecedented rate at which the transactions are being carried out. Even then, bank managers are also committed, even during the teller system as well. Bank managers have been committed to the privileged and corporate customers, or other high net worth customers, to to yeah to conduct their transactions. So as a result, isn't it and also what has been noted is what is also been noted is things like even with relation to personal connect, there has been artificial intelligence, there have been bots that have been made that have that actually do the service directly. They don't and they're more accurate, they're recorded, and they give an instant response to it as a result. So my question is, with even if there is a personal relationship, how much have a how much have how accurate has been the service with personal tellers compared to things like having bots in the immediate payment service system?
All right. So first of all, I would like to remind you of the scope of this particular debate. The debate is teller systems versus IMPS, and not teller systems versus artificial intelligence. So IMPS, first of all, does not cover bots or AI systems. IMPS system is simply entering the account number, the IFSC code, and sending across the money. There is no scope of any bots in the entire picture. So first of all, this question is actually out of scope. Another thing which I would like to point out is you have been consistently mentioning that the number of transactions of IMPS has been going up, the transactions has been swelling, and that is why IMPS is needed. But there was no data cited to actually substantiate that point. So there is no way for anyone to believe that this claim is actually true. So yeah, that's the answer from my side. Number one, bots and IMPS are two completely different things. The question is out of scope. And number two, there is no data to substantiate your claims.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Yash. Now I would request Toastmaster Krishnan to give his closing remarks.
Okay, so when you had spoken regarding to the fact that that the IMPS has more errors. Actually, even in the teller system, there have been errors with respect to counting of money. There has been errors even there as well. And even in the IMPS system, there have been severe penalties imposed by the Reserve Bank of India, banks to avoid such errors. So as a result, it is the amount of the financial law legal system is in fact coping up to address these issues. But however, the other thing about that you had raised with regards to, yes, so that was the thing. Another thing is, even with crimes related to the IMPS system, they can actually be tracked very easily through IP addresses, and FIRs can be lodged. Laws are starting to gather pace to address the problem. Many international organizations are in fact gathering the problem with regards to dealing with fraud related to the IMPS. Another thing with the teller system, where unlike the teller system, the legal system in India is actually pretty complex, which is why it's difficult for many teller people working in the teller system to be caught, even if there is evidence of financial fraud, because either they are part of unions, and usually the unions generally work in favor of them. So that is why I would say the IMPS system is more convenient with, and also I would like to close with, the IMPS system is very convenient to address the, especially during COVID. You can just do it with IMPS systems. You can actually just, it's more quicker and it's more efficient. Yeah, that's what I would conclude with.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Krishnan. Now I would request Toastmaster Yash to provide his closing remarks.
All right, thanks. First of all, even though generally concluding remarks, in the concluding remarks section, generally new points are not introduced. For example, some new points were introduced by Toastmaster Krishnan, like IP addresses can be tracked, the legal system is complex, unions working in unison. I would still rebut them in the course of my conclusion, but generally that's not the way it is done. But for the sake of the debate, for the sake of closing the debate, I would rebut those points as well. To begin with my conclusion, number one, Toastmaster Krishnan started off by saying that the internet penetration is rising in India, but again, there were no timelines given by Toastmaster Krishnan to actually guarantee or cite any data by when the internet penetration will be 100% and we can completely rely on the IMPS system and completely replace the teller system. In fact, even he admitted that it is picking up, but is not 100% there. So that, I would say, is an admission in its own right that teller systems are here to stay. They are essential and they are not replaceable by IMPS. Number two, Toastmaster Krishnan cited IMPS as a system which can do better as far as fraud detection is concerned. But as pointed out, IMPS is no better. I agreed that frauds do happen in the teller system as well, but IMPS is not the solution for frauds because IMPS itself is suffering from frauds. And to add to that, IMPS also suffers from another drawback, which is not there in the teller system, of human error being attributed to the user. Whereas in the traditional teller system, the onus is on the bank. So they would gladly reverse the transaction if there is a human error on the part of the bank. Coming to a new point which was introduced by Toastmaster Krishnan of credit card limits, which I again feel was somehow out of scope. IMPS is not related to increasing credit card limits. Number two, Toastmaster Krishnan talked about IP addresses being easily tracked, but Toastmaster Krishnan, IP addresses can be easily faked. It is no big deal for anyone to fake an IP address and conduct a fraud. By saying that fraudsters in the teller system are actually supported by unions, it is a very tall claim. You are claiming that the entire union is part of the fraud. Again, no data was cited to substantiate that fact, and it is a very, very tall claim. Uh, Coming to the remaining points of the debate, COVID, like I said, again, even in COVID, contactless transactions are priority, which can be easily mitigated by phone banking systems where human errors would be eliminated, which is not there in IMPS. So all in all, I rest my case that IMPS is not a replacement certainly for teller systems, and teller systems are here to stay to serve the unbanked.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Yash and Toastmaster Krishnan. It has been an amazing debate, and I was completely thrilled listening to your views, perspectives, and inputs. Thank you so much again for participating in our venture.
Thanks a lot, Toastmaster Mandira. Thanks a lot, Toastmaster.
Thank you.